In a quiet town in Colorado, nestled between the green hills and endless skies, lived a high school senior named Ethan Walker. Tall, with a mop of messy brown hair and a permanent look of quiet observation on his face, Ethan wasn't the loudest or the most confident kid in school. He didn't score the highest grades, wasn't a sports prodigy, and never really made it to the center of attention. But he had something else, an artist's soul and a deep sense of empathy that was often overlooked. Ethan had a best friend named Jordan Matthews, the golden boy of their school. Jordan had it all: captain of the basketball team, straight-A student, voted most likely to succeed, and with a smile that could win over any crowd. Jordan was kind too. He never rubbed his success in people's faces, but for Ethan, every time he stood beside him, he felt a little smaller. Not because Jordan made him feel that way, but because of the endless comparisons he made in his own head. At home, it wasn't much different. Ethan's older brother, Mason, had graduated college early, was now working at a top firm in Denver, and was always the pride of the family. Every family dinner included a new Mason story. His promotion, his project, his new car. Ethan loved his brother, but no matter how hard he tried to make his own accomplishments feel worthy, he always felt like he was falling short. One cold November evening, Ethan sat on his bedroom floor, sketchbook in hand. He just returned from school, where Jordan had been given yet another award, this time a full-ride scholarship to Stanford. Ethan had clapped and smiled like everyone else, but deep down he was hurting. He flipped through the pages of his sketchbook. Portraits, landscapes, a few abstract pieces he didn't even remember drawing. They were good. More than good. But they didn't feel like enough. He sighed and pulled out his phone, scrolling through social media. Everyone's lives looked perfect. His classmates posting about their early college acceptances, selfies with happy friends, glowing achievements. He turned the phone over and stared at the ceiling, a storm of self-doubt brewing in his chest. The next day, during art class, his teacher, Mrs. Reynolds, paused beside his easel. She was an older woman with silver streaks in her hair and paint always on her hands. She looked at his half-finished painting of a girl standing alone in a field under a starless sky. "This one speaks loudly, Ethan," she said quietly. He glanced at her, unsure whether to believe her or not. "Thank you," he muttered. She crouched beside him, voice low but steady. "You know, I've seen a lot of students over the years. Some talented in obvious ways like sports and grades. But some, like you, your gift is in capturing what others feel but cannot say." Ethan's hands stopped moving. No one had ever put it that way. "You're comparing your light to someone else's fire," she added. "That's no way to measure worth." The words sank deep into Ethan's heart. That night, he thought about them again as he walked home alone, the cold wind biting at his cheeks. He began noticing things: the crunch of leaves under his boots, the way his breath made little clouds in the air, and how beautiful the world looked when he wasn't looking through the lens of comparison. As the weeks went on, he started creating more. Not for grades or for praise, but just because it brought him peace. He entered a few of his paintings into a local art contest. He didn't expect much. But a month later he received an email. First place, Colorado State Youth Art Competition. His heart raced. The prize wasn't just a ribbon. It came with a scholarship to the Colorado School of Art and Design. That night at dinner, he handed the letter to his parents. His mother's eyes welled up with tears. "Ethan, this is amazing," she said. Even Mason, home for the weekend, gave him a proud smile. "I've always known you had something special," he said. "You see the world in ways the rest of us miss." For the first time, Ethan didn't compare his victory to Mason's. It wasn't the same. And it wasn't supposed to be. His journey was different, beautiful in its own right. Senior year came to an end, and as Jordan prepared to head off to Stanford and Ethan to art school, the two friends met up at their favorite hill just outside town. "Remember when we used to ride our bikes out here after school?" Jordan asked, tossing a rock down the slope. Ethan nodded. "Feels like forever ago." "You know," Jordan said, turning toward him, I always envied how calm you were. I could be in front of a crowd and still be shaking inside. But you always seemed so grounded. Ethan blinked. Really? I always thought you had everything figured out. Jordan laughed. Not even close. That conversation stayed with Ethan. It was a reminder that even those we admire have doubts. That behind every perfect image was a story full of challenges, fears, and growth. In college, Ethan flourished. His art continued to evolve, and soon his work was featured in regional exhibits. He made friends who were dreamers like him. Musicians, writers, dancers. And none of them cared how popular or perfect anyone was. They cared about truth, about creativity, about expressing what lived inside. Years later, Ethan became a renowned illustrator. His works graced the covers of books, galleries across the country, and even children's hospitals, where his gentle style brought comfort and hope. He gave speeches to young artists, often sharing the story of how he nearly gave up before realizing that comparing himself to others was the quickest way to forget his own worth. At one such event, a nervous boy approached him, clutching a small sketchpad. Ethan smiled and knelt down to his level. "Hey, what's your name?" "Daniel," the boy said softly. "Can I see your art?" The boy nodded and opened the book. Ethan flipped through the pages, heart-warming at the expressive, vibrant work. It reminded him of himself at that age. "This is amazing, Daniel. Really. You've got something special here." The boy looked down. "But I'm not as good as the others in my class." Ethan rested a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Don't compare yourself to anyone. Your path is yours alone. And the world needs your voice just the way it is." Daniel smiled, and Ethan saw something familiar in his eyes. A spark that just needed encouragement to grow. Ethan walked off stage that night thinking about how far he'd come. The boy who used to shrink in the shadow of others now stood as a lighthouse for those still searching for their light. He realized something profound. The moment he stopped comparing himself was the moment he became free. And that, more than any award or recognition, was the greatest victory of all. Because life isn't a race or a contest. It's a journey. And every soul walks it at their own pace, with their own steps, in their own shoes.